June 17th, 2026, and you know why you're here, so let's kick this off right and introduce the players. Hey, I'm Jarisar, a WoW esports aficionado.
Hey guys, it's Big Moran, and I'm the least biased WoW PvPer.
Hey guys, it's Treesap Jake, and much like England's World Cup dream, I'm coming home to the podcast. I'm back.
Oh, you're back, which is awesome. We missed you last time. I guess before we get too started, I just want to remind everybody, so it's our 10th year anniversary coming up officially on the 28th of June. So the next recording is going to be the 30th of June, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific, and whatever that turns into EU time. What is that, Jake? Midnight? 11?
11. It's 11 UK time and midnight CEST. Gonna have to really think about that. Yeah.
So we're gonna have some things we're gonna try. I'm trying to get some stuff to give away on the stream, so highly recommend, if you can, come and watch us live. Twitch.tv/technically_PvP. We'll also throw some stuff into the podcast, but that's going to be really short time frame. Like, we're not going to let that sit for long. So for those of you who like to rack and stack for a while, or forget about us and come back and binge listen, if you will, that's probably not going to work out for you. So I really hope you hear this, so you download it and listen immediately to our voices, and get your name in for some things that we're going to be giving away. I think we're gonna have some pretty good stuff. We'll definitely talk about it next podcast. But okay, Jake, what have you been up to, man?
That's a very good question. There's been a lot of stuff going on IRL for me, which is really good fun. I do something called LARP, which, if you've had the distinct pleasure of ever being able to do, it is basically just a very good excuse to meet up with your friends, get drunk, and just roam around in medieval gear. It is the funnest thing. I also get to fight, so as I am a PvPer, I can't not do something and not PvP. I'm essentially with a silicon pole arm fighting off orcs for 3 hours on a Sunday.
Nice.
So yeah, super fun. Very tiring. Sadly, I'm not as well trained as my character is in the game. Therefore, I need many water breaks and many just arm breaks in general.
That's awesome. When you do that, like when you hit somebody, do you like stop after you hit and then like roll? So somebody roll like a D20 and like a D6 or something like that to say how much damage you did?
I think if I did that, it would take maybe 2 weeks to do one battle. It works. It's probably quite a very balanced system, which is that you sort of have a bit of ownership, but everyone's in like armor, and if you have like a certain level of HP, depending on how much armor you've got, and if the weapon hits you a few times, you kind of count in your head, and there are refs that watch, so there's multiple refs. You kind of got to be aware, but there's also special abilities that knock you down and remove the use of your legs, as it were, for example. And so obviously, if your legs are removed and you're surrounded by a load of people battering you, yeah, there's a chance that your character's probably going to die there.
Awesome. How many people do the Black Knight thing?
That's a good question. A few, but many people who play the orcs, which is kind of like the bad guy sort of side of things, they don't really care if they die because they just get to respawn. But if you're playing your own character, it's a bit you're not I don't know. Some people like to do it. I definitely spend too much time on it, so therefore I don't want to just randomly die. But yeah, anyway,
fair enough.
PvP's fun.
PvP is fun, even IRL. How about you, Big? Have you been LARPing anything this past week?
Not really, and honestly, I haven't been playing WoW the past few days because, as we'll discuss in a little bit, there's a little bit of chaos at the beginning of each patch. But I've been playing Rogue over the past 2 weeks mostly, as been mentioning. Yep. And I definitely reaped the rewards of the inflation that we had for a while, and that was really fun. Nice. There was actually a conversation yesterday on Ven stream about inflation and whatnot, and I thought it was good for the game. Maybe it came at the wrong time, but I had fun during that period, gaining rating. Number goes up. That's all you want in World of Warcraft. So
true.
I'm thinking about, and I mentioned this last time, but I'm thinking about maybe leveling my mage or possibly hunter. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'll make that decision sometime this week. But other than that, it's pretty much just been business as usual.
Cool. Well, I have been playing, but I haven't been PvPing really. I was leveling a evoker that I have as preservation. I decided to try to take on that little challenge, and I must say that class, that spec, is fun. It is spicy too. Like, you can do some pretty cool stuff with it. It's it was pretty fun to watch, and obviously I, not to say watching AWC and watching all the great plays that were done with people playing Evoker was actually what made me do that. I was going to do it anyways because I decided I was going to maybe try raiding again with my guild, but yeah, after playing it, I can see why that class, and especially that spec, is so viable in PvP. Because I think I said it in our Discord, but I feel that if Voidweaver Disc got nerfed a bit, people would start complaining about how much damage the Preservation Evoker can do.
I think also, as a design choice, I think Preservation Evoker is also just completely and wildly different to anything else that we have. And I always said, long before Dragonflight came out, that we really, really needed another healing spec, because we've had the same healing spec since MOP, and it'd been kind of boring to have this slow rotation between, I want to say 4, I might be wrong, maybe 5 different healers that were kind of on the fringe of viable, or then always getting nerfed. But then you've got this really cool design utilizing that interesting design choice that we had in Dragonflight to create this new healing spec. And I think actually going out and trying it for the first time, kind of people realized, actually, yeah, I'm quite good at healing. An example of this is Nethy on EU, who is, like myself, an Argent Dawn native, played DPS for such a long time, and then re-rolled onto Preservation Evoker during the pre-patch of Dragonflight, or maybe even before that, and yeah, unlocked rank 1, etc., etc. So I think it's really cool.
Oh, it is, and it's such a fun spec, and I like because it. I mean, you do damage, which rolls into healing, and then you do healing, which rolls into damage. So there's always this like yin and yang tug of war going on with your spec, and then by doing damage, you get back mana, which is kind of weird. But it's not like Monk or Disc where you're just doing damage and then people are getting healed. Like, you have to weave the two together. You can't just sit there and just spam damage and all of a sudden watch bars go up, right? So there's always this yin and yang thing going on, which is really kind of cool. If anybody wants, I mentioned it on Twitter in a couple spots, but there's a person called Bowser the Healer. They are making YouTube videos. They're really in depth and they're really good, and I gotta admit, like, you know when you watch like a video and they kind of roll through and they talk about some specs and they talk about like the talents and they talk maybe about some abilities, and then all of a sudden like it like goes super in depth, or it's just like they're trying to make it super, really quick video, and so all of a sudden it's like the superficial kind of just like skim top. But the way they do this is they just talk about each ability, and then they talk about how they combo together, and then it just kind of it's like building a Pokemon hand, right? Like, just like build on and build on and build on, and then all of a sudden you understand the whole spec. It's really kind of cool. But enough about that. I know. So we called this episode. I called it Summer of Drought, only because if anybody hasn't paying attention, is underneath a rock, or maybe just enjoying Classic. In retail, the 12.0.7 patch dropped yesterday with a brand new one boss raid. And congratulations, I guess, to Guild Liquid for getting another world first kill within the first hour of the raid dropping. I think that's right. Anyway, I'm suspecting that this is actually going to be a very slow summer for a lot of the retails, and you're probably going to hear a lot of complaining. Personally, though, I think that we're going to be okay as PvPers because there's so much recyclable content as PvP, right? So I'm going to ask you guys, Are you expecting it to be a slow summer, or do you think it's going to drop off and we're going to hear a bunch of people complaining about the slowness of PvP and maybe a stale meta? Or do you think that people are just going to start alt hopping and we're going to see actually an increase in activity because there's nothing else to do in PvE?
That's a interesting question. Well, I was going to say, I think we're going to probably have 12.1 sometime in June, like maybe, or I'm sorry, late July and maybe late August, sometime around then, because BlizzCon is obviously happening in September. So I assume they're going to drop the next season, next patch right before BlizzCon. I assume. Could be wrong. So maybe we have a new season to look forward to. I know wasn't any tuning with the patch, which a lot of people were surprised about. So possibly we're going to see some tuning at the end of this week. But yeah, I think if you're not a PvPer, this is definitely a time of drought. I know they've implemented this new Omnium Folio system, which is a time-gated 5-week event, which we can talk about in a bit. But other than that and the new raid, I don't really know if was there any significant content truly added? I mean, one boss raid is just that's like, as you mentioned, that was cleared within 1 hour of servers resetting. So I don't, sure it's content, but it's just a one-time thing. It sounds like. So yeah, I think for PvPers, we don't really. I mean, we're kind of always in a drought, admittedly, in PvP, right? Like it's a perpetual drought. But yeah, for the rest of the community, definitely probably slows down.
Yeah. Well, I think there is the Chirping the Time Ways that are going to activate at the end of the June here. So that will probably, maybe that's the content that they're expecting everybody to do to keep them active throughout July. But if we're doing if it's still an 8-week cycle, because that's what they've been doing, right? 8 weeks between patches. So it's going to be in 8 weeks before 12.1 drops, right? Which is,
so that's what, August.
That's middle August, yeah. So I don't know. What about you, Jake? Are you expecting to have a drought? Are you gonna start alting, or are you gonna like try to push Gladiator and I don't know, rank 1 on your main? Like what are your plans for PvP over the summer?
So I've also, much like well, actually not much like Big, I've sort of taken a much longer break from WoW just to kind of reset myself. But I am coming back and I am leveling new alts to try different things and try a different way of thinking about it. I think I spent a long time getting wound up about playing a specific class when actually I'm just going to play something that I feel I'm enjoying. So trying different things and just kind of trying to see where my brain is at. It's kind of where I'm at with it. But I'm a big believer that WoW PvP has a unique quality for WoW in general, which is the fact that even when there is no content, we will literally log on and queue. If you've got the balancing correct, that's what we'll do. We'll log on always and queue. We'll queue. Now that we've got shuffle, we'll queue shuffle. If shuffle's good, we'll queue it. If 2s are good, we'll queue it. If 3s are good, we'll queue it. Like we will literally spend all of our waking time playing 3s if the balancing is good, if it feels like in general that it's in a good place. And I think that's the biggest difference, is that unlike PvE, which has, next to nothing, small little raid and whatever, these guys will, they'll go and do M+. Maybe that'll kind of keep people occupied for a little bit. But the truth is, it's like PvPers are your backbone. Like, truthfully, I always feel like that. And it's always the thing that's upset me the most, is that Blizzard have never realized that if they really paid attention to our community, they could have just a stream of people that will never stop playing. So, yeah, that's what I think. I think there will be a drought because likely we will get bored of the balance, as always. But I am always optimistic.
I'm equally optimistic, but I'm also realistic. But you're not wrong that we do have that glorious position right now in the game where, and I think beyond Mythic Plus and people chasing, I don't know what, some mounts because of that new mount thing they have, PvP is really going to be the only thing that's really going to be active. And maybe we'll get some people that they haven't played for a while, because they're bored, and maybe they'll join in. So that might be cool.
Yeah, I think so.
I think now big, you listed a few things, and I think this is pertinent, especially with talking about PvP and that. What's going on with some more add-ons? What's going on with the add-ons,
Yes,
man?
I guess Blizzard has once again changed their API rules to limit certain information. So I believe mini buffs that were previously flagged as important buffs, which were non-secret to add-ons, are now no longer accessible to add-ons. So what this means, there's kind of some technical jargon there, is that TLDR, a lot of offensive cooldowns that you could maybe track the CD of with mini CC, you can no longer track the cooldown of those abilities. It's kind of just random what it is. So you can still track defensive cooldowns, you can still track interrupt cooldowns, you can still track CC, but a lot of offensives you can no longer track. So just as an example, Shadow Blades. If you're up against a sub-rogue, you can't track Shadow Blades. I also believe that it's no longer possible to see certain buffs on nameplates, including precog and nullifying shroud, I think were the biggest ones. So that's kind of unfortunate. I think not being able to see, especially precog, is kind of annoying. Just because it's, the spell does have an animation, but it's so subtle, it's kind of like a temporary glow. And yeah, I mean, I could see this patch particular being a really good time to have Arena Coach installed so you can see whether or not you waste your CC. I'm kidding, but I think there's going to be a lot of people who are going to be using CC into precog by accident.
Oh, absolutely, it's going to happen. Yeah.
So, and from my understanding, I
just want to point out, if you have a potato of a computer as well, you have everything turned down, you won't even see the sparkle.
One other thing to consider too is supposedly, these rollbacks on API rules are going to continue into next patch.
Yep.
So the pruning of add-ons, so-called pruning of add-ons is not done yet. It's an ongoing thing. And we might even see more limitations here in 2 months. But for the meantime, I've been seeing a lot of people on Discord saying, if this isn't working, that isn't working. This, give it some time. Usually these first few days of the patch, there's some things that are just obviously broken. Add-on developers need to figure that out. And then also it's just Blizzard is constantly changing the rules of what add-ons can actually do.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a turbulent and confusing time for us all.
Yeah. I will point out, and I also saw it over on Twitter, this is mentioned, but it affects even people with accessibility issues even more, because a lot of those people where if they have vision or audio issues or deficiencies, they're relying on add-ons to help highlight things. And with this change, there's now a bunch of people that can't PvP and can't raid because even the text to speech and that the TTS in the game doesn't even work beyond, I think it's the person you're targeting or the whatever thing you're targeting. So whereas before, you'd be targeting something, but you'd still hear an audio that somebody lust, your raid lusted or something like that, right? But now you won't hear that because you don't have the person targeted. So it's even more detrimental for somebody who's using add-ons to help augment their game so that they can actually play it. Anyway,
crazy that we've kind of gone backwards in that sense, but I think this is kind of what everyone asked for. Everyone asked for, can we have no add-ons? And then we get rid of them all, and it's like, but my add-ons. I don't know.
I never asked for them to get rid of add-ons, though.
I didn't mean you specifically, though. I have heard most people are holding you accountable. So
it's so funny. I truly believe that the no add-ons thing was the true you think you do, but you don't in WoW. And I understand, why some players might feel frustrated or might have felt frustrated at add-ons.
Yeah.
But I mean, they've just been part of the game since the beginning. It was just they've always been like part of the culture, and I was never really bothered by them personally. I mean, I could see why people would be frustrated, at some add-ons, specifically weak auras. I think obviously the big thing they wanted to tackle was weak auras. Yeah. But in order to do that, like everything else needed to crumble. It was like the classic, literacy story or literature story where it's like, in order to save civilizations, like some people must suffer, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what happened, unfortunately.
I'll take that back slightly. I did have an issue with add-ons only because it was impossible to watch streams.
Yeah, but I mean,
like you look at old montage videos, and it was like two nameplates with like 4 buffs on each nameplate. Now it's 8 nameplates. You got your party, plus you have the enemy's team, plus you have everybody's nameplates, and there's like 36 buffs flying around, and then there's like these giant squares of CDs and all this other stuff, and then there's the DR trackers, and then there's some blaring horn going off to tell you to hit a defensive, and it's just that was annoying. I
agree. I agree. No, but it's so true though. Like it is. It's very annoying from a viewer point of view, but it's like, at the same time, you're kind of thinking, well, hold on. I'm also kind of giving up everything that I'm kind of used to. Like there are some classes where I just don't think Blizzard have done it right, because classically, once again, I think the games has like a level of complication that requires certain add-ons to be used to understand it, like what we've talked about, where we have nothing in the base UI that allows us to actually kind of keep track of things. Like the good parts of the add-ons we've actually lost. And we no longer have access to, which is a real shame, because tracking your cooldowns, tracking kicks, that kind of stuff is something that is important nowadays. Stuff that we don't need is, like, as you say, the air horns going off as soon as someone's cooldowns are pressed, or other things like that. But the game basically already has those indicators in anyway, because it's just everything lights up, So what are you meant to do? I feel like you just can't win.
I feel like they should have done the same thing in Legion, where they added in like something where it was in PvP, all this stuff is active, you can see it. In PvE, no, and then that way the raiders can have the difficulty without having an add-on simplify it, and it's not just cognitive overload. In the meantime, in PvP, where people are suffering from cognitive overload, that there is the ability for add-ons to help simplify the UI and reduce, so that of those 36 buffs and whatever that's on a person, there's only three of them that actually matter you can see, and that you're not lost into like all these other additive buffs that are like an extra 2% damage or something like that, or the fact that the rogue just press Shadow Blades and you're going to die in 2 seconds if you don't, or even 1.5 seconds if you don't press a CD, because that's a reality too. Talking about add-ons though, I've mentioned this before on the show, the Overlord add-on, and it is really taking off. A huge shout out to Trauma. Trauma he's done really good, and he's continuing to build it. He's continuing to add in other zones. So again, if anybody doesn't know, this is an add-on. It uses Battle.net community, and it basically creates capture points in old classic zones, and you can go there as Alliance or as Horde, and just by being there and it's King of the Hill style, if I'm not mistaken, and you end up capturing that spot, and then if you get enough of them, you capture the zone, right? And there's, I think, like a keep spot, and you only keep for 30 minutes or something like that. And it's really grown. A lot of the world PvP communities have really started to take to this, which is somewhat detrimental, because having 40 players, 40v40 in a zone kind of hurts the servers a little bit, especially in these classic zones where they're not used to having servers support. But talking about add-ons, like this is an amazing way of using an add-on to help grow PvP, right, Big?
Yeah, I mean, I made a tweet about this the other day. Like, Here's a perfect example of someone within the community kind of filling a void that has yet to truly be addressed by Blizzard. So I know there are, integrated systems within the game that are meant to be for world PvP, like the Sparks quests and whatnot. But I think what a lot of people truly have wanted with world PvP is it to be not this like weekly go to this single area and just sort of pseudo AFK for a little bit, but instead like true, war zone type, out in the world, the old world style player versus player, which is exactly what Overlord does. And I think what's so brilliant about the add-on is the fact that it gets you going back to old zones. This has been one of the biggest criticisms of WoW, just generally speaking, over the past few years. It's like once a new expansion releases, it seems like the previous world that you were exploring sort of becomes obsolete. And that's especially true of the old world. And I think like these old zones, like the other day we were fighting in Loch Madan, like that's like one of the coolest zones in the game. And it's very nostalgic to be there and to fight, the horde there. And so it's just like this brilliant add-on that sort of pulls together all of these ideas and sort of fixes a bunch of problems in this creative way. And I mean, I just think it's a really good example of the community solving a problem. And I'd like to see more things like that, whatever that would be.
Ditto. I equally agree. Now, I think Jake, you've heard of this add-on, but have you actually played with it? Have you actually done anything over in EU with it?
No, nothing at all. In fact, I only learned from it because of you guys and the tweets. So I think it's I think there's an interesting point that I think you made, Big, which was that it's funny how the add-on workers are finding and coming up with fixes quicker than Blizzard have. Like no one in Blizzard thought this could be really good. But I do think that sometimes if Blizzard were to drop it down in our laps, it would be from a real sort of commercial aspect that tries to lock you in. And it's kind of going to end up like, what was that? Like, it was like the Season of Discovery Ashenvale thing that they had for ages at like level 19 or 20 or whenever that was. And it was just kind of like no one wanted to do it. Like, it was cool, but you were kind of forced to do it and no one really wanted to do it. Whereas this is something that you opt in, you choose to do. You're doing it of your own free volition, and therefore it feels fun. And so I think that's something that I think maybe, we might have to bear in mind with this, or that like I think it would be amazing if Blizzard actually could do something with it, but I kind of think if they did, we wouldn't take to it in the same way we have done. But I think it's a brilliant idea.
Yeah, I think you're right. That's what makes it special, is that it's people who are doing it out of their own volition and out of their own take on the alliance or take on the horde and get your friends and attack and overcome and achieve something. But it's because you want to do it. It's not because you're being forced to do it. And I think I find that's the same. You're not wrong. Is that a lot of the stuff that Blizzard has implemented ends up being, you have to do it for some sort, they always added like some power to it or some benefit to it that makes you have to do it. And then they make it so grindy that it removes the fun of doing for fun, and it becomes a chore. I think about a certain tower in a certain expansion about dead people in the afterlife. On that though, this is one I did not realize this, because I'm only in like the official Discord for the Overlord and watching how people are interacting and talking about it, and I haven't actually participated because usually like being a dad gamer, I find a lot of the time like my real gaming time is like Saturday morning at 9 o'clock in the morning, and lo and behold, nobody's really PvPing, let alone world PvPing at that time. But it came to light there, Big, that there's apparently a Discord that was also made for people to make groups with, but then it ended up becoming something else. And I don't like. How does this work? Like, what the heck happened there, Big?
Are you referring? You're referring to the drama, or
Yeah.
Well, so the tension, and I won't get into the exact details. The tension is that Overlord kind of has rules and has a set of expectations for its players. And since it is faction versus faction, maybe there isn't proper incentives for everyone to follow the rules, and so that can create some problems with like imbalances, and it can be tricky. And again, that's just because it's trying to fit a circle into a square, or a square into a circle, where it's like it's trying to implement a system into the game, sort of ad hoc. And that's really difficult to do without, certain guardrails being in place. I know I'm being very ambiguous with this, but it's just, if the TLDR is, if there's something in the game that people can exploit, people will probably try to exploit that.
Yeah.
And it's difficult to get everyone to play by the rules.
Well, but I think it just goes down to we're dealing with people, right? And people, especially people with strong competitive attributes, they want to win. And some people then, with that attribute, but also have a bit of a flexible morality, will do whatever it takes to win, including if that includes exploits. And I think we're all aware that in the world of Warcraft, in the world PvP era, communities, there's also a group of people where they win only by superior numbers, right? And they feel superior that way because we completely stomped that other group, when it's you stomped them because you just 40v5'd a group of enemies, and yes, you totally overwhelmed them, and there's no way that they could come back from that. But yeah, I think I heard there was some people that were exploiting where they were unkillable, and they had a bunch of whatever they had, but they weren't taking any damage whatsoever, apparently. Arguments back and forth about whether that was true or not. And then also, I think it also got to the point where one faction was declaring that they weren't going to fight anymore because the other faction was either A, cheating, or B, they were overwhelming the other faction so much that the one faction was just like, no, we're just not even going to bother, because you can, we go in and we play fair 5v5, and all of a sudden you call another 40 people and bring the servers to a halt, and we don't want to do that. So am I getting that right?
Yes.
Okay.
TLDR, yes.
TLDR.
I think as well, I think when it comes to WoW, we are just we're built different when it comes to exploits. It's like, if you think back to, I think there's so many, like Race to World First is full of these random, like, oh, they're not exploits, they're just clever mechanics kind of things. And I guess you get also the same thing when, I mean, the one that comes to mind, I'm sure that comes to mind for everyone, is the, I think it's the Legion Boomkin, was it Legion or, no, Azeroth, Battle for Azeroth? I can't remember which one. It was either in between or not.
The Sea-Doo thing?
The Sea-Doo one, yeah. So that one was the big one that comes to mind. Like, is that exploits? Is it clever mechanics? Who knows? Either way, it got nerfed. And I think the point is that this is what we do, and that sadly this is a part of WoW PvP. There's very little integrity. There was a guy on my server called Napalm back in the day. I think he also became quite famous just in general across the board. He would do world PvP on Argent Dawn and EU, and he was well known for just being insanely good, and he would just sort of like take potions and drop down out of thin air and dismount people with as a fire mage with like Pyroblast and Scorch, and just kill them whilst they're AFK. Like, I think the point is that we just do this. So when you have something that's community driven and like that, unless it has such a big following that people are remiss to get removed from it, or there is a dedicated team that is there to stop people from doing it, which is very difficult, seeing as it's world PvP, and as long as you've got a subscription you can probably get there somehow. it becomes very difficult to police these things. And the reason why I speak about it is because I was mentioning before the show started that I'm in an amateur League of Legends tournament, and it's basically very, very minimal, but it's so well run. It's the most fun thing I've ever done in my life, but it's custom games, and it's obviously like a community based thing, but people are running it and they have specific rules that you have to follow. And if you get banned, you're out, and then you kind of lose that sort of itch that you're trying to scratch, that competitive side of things that maybe Riot or Blizzard don't offer players to be able to do in their downtime when they're not pushing threes or solo shuffle or whatever. So it's hard to police that, but it's interesting. It's a really cool concept.
It is, and I think like anything in the game, it can be either made great or completely made horrible by the player base. I think the last time I saw anything that was actually like a true incentivization of a zonal war was Nashatar, and I remember Ruin Gaming would have timers on their Discord servers, and they had people that were anchors, and they'd just roll in with like multiple raid teams into a zone, and the server would just crawl into a halt, and then all of a sudden, the thing was done in like 3 minutes. And they're all like, yay, look, yay. And in the meantime, everybody else that wasn't part of that would you couldn't even achieve anything yourself unless you're part of that group. And yeah, it was horrible. So I think that's the downside, is that in the game of World of Warcraft and just how it has perpetuated over the years, a lot of it is all about yourself, and it's very selfish gameplay, and it incentivizes selfish gameplay. And anybody who says that raiding is a group effort, I call, like, yes, it totally is. It's a group effort, but I call baloney that it helps incentivize team building or anything like that. Or it's all about people getting their gear that they want. And then as soon as they get, they make the kill, they get the mount, and they get the gear they want, they completely ghost a raid team. We've seen raid teams just grind to a halt mid or after they achieve their cutting edge or something like that, because half the people don't show up to raid next week, right? So there's very little parts of the community that are actually there for the team. Anyway, I think that even goes to PvP. Like that's I think one of the reasons why solo is so viable is because a lot of the people that were queuing for threes before solo shuffle existed were doing so only because it was the only way to get their achievements, to get their mounts and everything. And now they don't need to do that, right? But those people were never great teammates. Does that make sense?
No, it makes sense. Yeah, I mean, I guess there's slightly two different kind of concepts in a way, but I think in general, solo shuffle has eliminated the ability for people who don't have the time really to sort of spend it all in LFG, and I think that was the big thing, really, just like the amount of time you spent in LFG. Whereas now you can actually push the rating you want to push, get the sort of achievements that you want to get, and still be respected. I mean, I think people still respect like rank ones in solo shuffle and legend, so it still takes work.
Yeah, I think so too. You just reminded me of something. We didn't talk about it yet. They're increasing the cap of rank 1 or legends in solo shuffle. So instead of the top 3, it's now the top 8.
Oh.
So they've increased.
Cool.
Yeah. I think this is a fantastic change. I mean, the elephant in the room is tanks, which we'll get to in a sec. But, to me, this just makes a lot of sense. For instance, if you play an off-meta spec, perfect example is Arcane Mage. Like, Arcane Mage is kind of one of the weaker specs right now. Not many people playing it. And because of this, like, the number of rank 1 spots in solo shuffle for Arcane Mage is like maybe like 2 or 3, which is ridiculous. Like, that's such a small amount. Like, that's like ultra competitive, that's crazy. Meanwhile, like, the most popular specs in the game, I think Disc Priest is the most popular spec in the game. Like that usually has like well over like 15 to 20, and sometimes in some seasons like 40 rank 1 slots, like a crazy amount.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, if you're the number 4 arcane mage, you're pretty good. I mean, that there's definitely something to be said there. You know,
Yep.
So making it a minimum of 8 slots for rank 1, that makes a lot of sense because there just are these off meta specs that aren't that popular, and sometimes these off meta specs are actually good. Case in point, some seasons like BM Hunter, or not BM Hunter, that's a popular spec. Survival Hunter is not that popular, but it's typically pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, imagine being a Survival Hunter on EU. You know, you're having to compete against Big Mechs for maybe like 3 slots, you know, like you're having to compete with the ultra best number 1 player of all time on that spec. Like, that's crazy. But yeah, the elephant in the room is obviously tanks, because I think Vengeance Demon Hunter, I mean, we can look it up right now. Like, there's not that many people on the ladder playing Vengeance Demon Hunter in solo shuffle. And let's actually see. So if with these new rules, if the season ended today, to get rank 1 as a Vengeance Demon Hunter in solo shuffle, you just need to be 1743 rating. Like, that's a bit, you know, that's not probably ideal.
Sorry guys, I need to log on right now.
Yeah, there's only 166 people on the ladder who have played Vengeance Demon Hunter on NA.
Wow.
That might be an edge. You know, there's some edge cases there with some of the tank specs.
Yeah.
Case in point.
Which is funny. Vengeance Demon Hunter is so fun to play. Like, it's so disruptive. You're such a pain in the butt.
Yeah, it's one of those sort of bully specs too. It's like you could just select a player and just bully them the whole game. So that's definitely a valid critique of the new system. I mean, we don't need to talk too much about tanks in PvP because it's been beaten to death. But you know, tanks always kind of create these problems in some specific ways, and this is like definitely this is definitely, I think, a valid problem. You know, like the prestige of a rank 1 title, and I hate to be a gatekeeper here, but you kind of want that to feel like really prestigious, and something just doesn't feel right about getting a rank 1 title at 1743 rating. You know, like that something needs to be fixed there. But I mean, maybe not. Like, who, you know, maybe who cares who gets rank 1? You know,
should there be like a bottom cutoff too? So it's like the minimum 8 slots of everybody that's over 2K or something like that. Maybe.
Yeah. Maybe. Ooh, that's a good. Ooh, Charizard. Now you're cooking. Blizzard, listen up. We're cooking a bit. Yeah, I don't know. Not sure.
I think it's viable, especially with how long the seasons are, and we're seeing this almost every season. Yes, there's that slow spot until they inject some incentives. Maybe they inject some MMR, but generally, I think most seasons we've seen DPS and healers all over 2K in those legend spots, and so I think that would definitely eliminate having a legend tank, if you will. I mean, tanks can still play, but you know, they just won't get legend. And now that prop paladins aren't their own queue anymore, then we don't have the win traders on that one, so that's fine. I think the one last item. So I know that there's a bit of tinfoil hat here. So apparently somebody noticed that there's a new trademark that was just registered by Blizzard for Blizzard. Was it Camelot?
Camelot.
And now over there, Classic Plus. I don't know. I mean, this could be as much as a board game, right?
World of Warcraft, the board game.
Honestly,
they've done it before.
I would laugh so hard.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my main concern, no matter what Classic Plus is, it has to be exceptionally good.
Yep.
Like, think of Star Wars, okay? And I don't want to get into the debate whether what was better, the prequels or the original trilogy. But in any case, it's like, say you're rebooting Star Wars, which they did in the late 1990s.
Yeah.
Like, they have to make that really good, right? Like,
Yeah.
they had to make that series really good. Then what happened when they rebooted it a second time? Well, it's like, the new Star Wars movies, it's like,
Yeah.
they're okay, but who cares? And I just feel like Blizzard is in this situation where if they release Classic Plus, which it seems like they probably will, they've hinted at it, it just needs to be the perfect game, because you're going to be dealing with people who are both classic Andes and retail Andes.
Yep.
The classic Andes have their own vision of WoW, what that means, and the good old days and whatnot. Then you have the retail Andes who want this like really polished system and things to be perfect. And so Classic Plus in theory needs to somehow at least satisfy the classic Andes, which I think is really difficult to do, and then ideally also satisfy the retail Andes. And doing both at the same time, I think, is an exceptionally difficult task.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see what Classic Plus actually is. I mean, obviously, I think everyone's curious. But I think no matter what, it has to almost be like the perfect game. Otherwise, I'm not confident that it will stick around. That's my concern, is it just needs to be flawless.
I suspect, regardless of what they do, the same thing is always going to happen, is a bunch of people are going to flock to it. The servers are going to have a bunch of issues. People are going to complain, and they're going to lose 5% day one. And then all the retail Andes are going to play it and realize and remember again how much of a grind it is to play the game.
Yeah.
And they're going to quit level 30, maybe level 40. They might get to level 50, maybe even 60, but then they'll quit because they've spent too much time and they're missing out on the next plushie and the next housing thing and whatever, all the housing stuff. In the meantime, then the classic Andes are then going to complain because their server is now a ghost town and ask Blizzard to amalgamate servers, and Blizzard's going to rail against that because they don't want some mega server. And then people are going to stop playing, and then they're going to lose the other 40% of their player base. And it's basically going to be everybody that's playing hardcore is going to be playing Classic Plus. Oh, and then hardcore community is going to complain because now there's nobody playing hardcore.
Yeah.
So that's my tinfoil hat.
Yeah. And also, like, according to those leaks, there's going to now be a reboot of Wrath of the Lich King potentially at the end of this year or the beginning of next year.
Yep.
Which, it's coming right before. What's that?
I'm gonna be there.
You're gonna be there. Yeah, like, so here's the thing. I think they're obviously. I think what they're gonna do is they have the anniversary server. Is that what they call them?
Yep.
Yeah.
And they're just gonna go vanilla TBC Wrath restart, vanilla TBC Wrath restart. I think that's probably gonna be their plan for the next however many years.
That's what the private servers have been doing, that they've been shutting down. Right.
Exactly. So, and for me, I'm kind of excited just from a content point of view, just like I get to make some Wrath content again, which I'm kind of happy about.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's cool. Camelot, not sure. I think there was some other thing in the leak about a possible like anime or something. I couldn't really read the text, but I think that's something that the WoW community has been asking for, is like some cool TV show or whatnot. Like, I don't know if you guys have watched Arcane, the League of Legends show, but that's like an amazing show. It's really, really well done. And I think the Warcraft community would be eager for something like that.
People have been calling for it for years. Yeah, what was that?
Yeah.
Jake?
No, I was just going to say, like, unironically, the story of Warcraft would fit an anime so unbelievably well. Like, the ability... Like, I mean, the Arcane was really good. The first season was really good. Second season was a little bit but in general, concept was really cool. But WoW and Warcraft in general has such fleshed out stories from the days where their creativity was so unbelievably good. To bring those to life, and if you think like not necessarily something that looks like Arcane or looks like the way that the cinematics are done. But if you've ever seen the Devil May Cry anime that's been out on Netflix, that's very, very good and very well written. That sort of style with, you know, stories that take place over a period of time through the ones that we know and love. I think people would love that, and you could make it be such a money machine, exploring elements of lore like from, you know, like the orcs, for example, and their backstory and things like that, which would be just incredible. So I hope it is something like that, but Classic Plus also would be pretty good.
If they do an anime and I don't see old Blanchy, I'm going to cry. Like,
I think that's prerequisite, isn't it?
Yeah, I thought so, but again, I don't write the stories, so if they don't do it though, that'd be such a loss. Like same with, like, there would have to be some sort of like a one episode explaining Mankirk's wife or something like that.
Yeah, one whole episode is just, you know, actually I will say this: if you watch The Last of Us TV show, in the first season, there is a episode which is completely like not even in the game, and it's just basically about the guy's like he has a relationship with another man that he meets during that, and it is the best bit of TV I think I've ever seen in my life. It was so unbelievably good, and it not even in there. So honestly, if they do a whole like Mankirk's wife, and it's like their POV, but from when they first met and everything like that, I'd be on it. I'm sure it'd be the most incredible episode.
Exactly what it is. I just watched that episode with my wife, actually.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. Season 1, episode 3.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah.
Unbelievable episode.
Bill and Frank?
I think something along those lines. It's been a while since I watched it, but unbelievable piece of TV, and I genuinely do think that if they did something like that, it would be good.
I agree. Speaking of things that we would like them to do, though, what's one thing you want them to change there, Jake?
One thing to change. I think it would be. It's a hard question, to be honest. We always, if you think about it, every 2 weeks or so, we have to come up with something like that. And I'm starting to run out of ideas. I do think it would be really nice for them to change, to look for supporting the taking on add-on builders and putting them into the team.
Ooh.
Because that would be really cool. Like a way to kind of, let's help us build this world that you love, and we will pay you.
That would be nice. Considering Blizzard is supposedly taking on their own UI and they're still botching it. So,
yep.
All right. Big. What's one thing you would change?
I want them to reboot the WoW trading card game. I went to a card convention with my brother in town a few weeks ago. It was primarily Pokemon cards, which I know are, popping off right now.
Yep.
And I was like, man, I would probably buy some WoW cards, and I would be chasing after those loot codes or those holographic whatever, if I pulled a hollow Zalatath's feet, I would be very happy, so yeah, I think they should 100%. They should have done this years ago. Just reboot the TCG. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but I think that was a really cool thing. It was kind of too ahead of its time almost.
Mm-hmm.
Does a shiny Zalatath's feet give you the foot mount? And it's just Zalatath's foot that you get to ride.
You have two good ideas. That's too good.
I'm cooking.
Oh my gosh! Now we're cooking with gas.
Is that a 1-seater toe or a 2-seater toe?
Dude, you got to invite your friends along.
Yeah.
Sharing is caring.
Oh God! All right, I think talking about things rebooting and whatnot, I want them to reboot the Trivial Pursuit game that they had. It needs to be updated with new trivia that's up to date. So,
that'd be cool.
Yeah. I feel like that would be awesome. All right.
I think so.
Quick and easy. Love it. What a great show. Shout outs. Do you guys have anybody to shout out?
Oof. Shout out myself for returning. You the boss.
Shout out to Mathine, who was recently her birthday. So shout out to Mathene. Happy birthday, Mathene.
Happy birthday, Mathene, indeed. It was great meeting her at the North Bend Live here in Toronto. That was awesome. I'm going to shout out. Actually, I'm going to shout out a guy named Chris who I work with. He only does raiding and stuff like that, but normally the team that he raids with, they don't do a lot of homework, and yet they were able to go in and do 4 out of 9 mythic in the last raid tier, which is really amazing considering they don't usually do that well. So shout out to him for raid leading that. And out of our conversations, he actually took my B tag and he offered to do some hard carries with my preservation evoker, so I at least get some gear in Mythic Plus, because he's doing he's really well geared. He's just like, yeah, if I'm bored, I'll message you. We'll give you some carries. I was like, all right, I'll take free gear, thanks. So shout out to Chris. All right, that's it. That's the show. Again, before we just do the outro, please, everybody, make sure you listen next week. If you can, be here live the 30th of June. You might not regret it. Big. Where can people find us?
You, if you want to contact us, can do it directly on X at technically_PVP or on Blue Sky at technicallypvp.bluesky.social, or even by an email things, technicallypvp@gmail.com. You can also join our discussions on our Discord.
And we are now hosted on Libsyn. So a link to the website will be in the show notes. Don't forget that the Bonus Roll website also has a podcast directory with us and many other great shows at www.bonusroll.gg. This directory has a review system, so please head on over there and tell everyone what you think of your favorite shows, including our own.
Indeed. And as always, we'll have links for that and other things in our show notes. So make sure you go there. And I want to thank everybody for listening, and we'll chat with you next time. Good night, everybody.